It's that time of year again. The cold breezes are coming in strong and winter has declared it's near. Let's get this thing winterized. But this isn't your run-of-the-mill winterizing episode because we're going to winterize like a Squatch, and we'll include a couple hacks too.
Nope. Yep.
Dibs.
That's right. For the next 7 months, we'll be shivering, awaiting the warmer weather so we can finally get outdoors again and go RVing. So let's get this dude all ready for its icy hibernation. First things first, empty your gray and black water tanks. I'm using this tote as I'm not able to directly access the sewer connection today. Let's pull our freshwater valve down here and get this thing draining. It's mostly drained already as I did this a month or so back. There we go. Now we're going to go into the RV, ensure that our water pump is off, and that we're disconnected from city water, of course. And then we're going to open up all the fixtures so we have good ventilation of the water lines. Bathroom sink, and shower. We're going to do a couple things at the same time. First, we're going to locate our low point drains and open them up to let out much of the water in the system. Oh look, it's hack number 1. See these valves? Most RVs will actually have these ridiculous caps on, which you have to thread on and off. Complete waste of time, and you have to roll around under here to get them on and off. I installed these valves with a shark bite connection so I can open and close these at will. I'll link down below for a cheaper alternative that fits these 1/2 inch connectors. I have a traditional water heater in this RV. Note that if you have a tankless or instant hot water heater, this is where your logic will branch a bit. We won't be covering these here, but note that typically, like traditional water heaters, we don't want RV antifreeze to run through these units either. So the following procedure of locating the drain plug and turning on the bypass valves will be very similar. However, you should refer to your specific brand and model for more detailed instructions. For our water heater model, we'll simply grab a ratchet, extension, and a 24mm socket. Then we'll simply loosen and remove this drain plug. I like to flip this relief valve on the top of the tank to let it drain faster. Sometimes water will come gushing out of here, which is fine. It looks like in our case here, the low point drain took care of the excess water in the water heater. I usually just store this plug inside the compartment here until next spring. Note that some of you may have a hot water heater that has an anode rod, so don't be surprised when you pull out the plug and there's a long thing attached to it. That's completely normal. Inspect the anode rod and replace in the spring if needed when you de-winterize at that time. This next step is very important. We need to immediately go to the water heater bypass before we forget. If you don't know where your bypass is, again, refer to your RV instruction manual or locate it somewhere like in your internal compartment where the RV winterization valve is located, like this. There should be a diagram explaining how each valve needs to be set to successfully bypass. Our water heater is located inside underneath the sink so we can access it by removing this drawer. Note that the latches on this style of drawer guide have to be switched up on one side and down on the other for the drawer to release. Let's reach back here and turn these valves. We'll shut off the inlet and outlet valves, then we'll go over to this bypass valve and turn it on so the water will simply bypass the water heater through this path. Now that the fresh water tank, the lines, and the water heater have been drained and the water heater bypass valves are properly set, let's move on to getting some antifreeze through the water lines. Why? Well, we can't guarantee that all the water is out of the plumbing. I used to use an attachment like this to pressurize the system with my air compressor to blow the water out, just like you do with underground sprinkling, but that really doesn't guarantee that all the water is out of the system, and residual water can still pool up in certain areas of the plumbing. So we use this stuff. This is specifically manufactured for RV systems, as you can see on the label. It kind of goes without saying that you don't want to use automotive antifreeze because that stuff is toxic to living organisms, such as your future selves in the spring. In low doses, this stuff, however, is much safer for humans, such as the small residuals after the initial flush from the water lines in the spring. But wait, not all antifreeze is equal. There are different formulations for different temperatures and even some ingredients that you should avoid fully. Actually, cheaper antifreeze contain tallow or animal fat. Yeah, this is a thing with some RV antifreeze, and it can cause large issues getting the congealed mess back out after a cold winter. This year we're using the Splash -50 RV and Marine antifreeze, which uses propylene glycol. Well, why not the -75-degree version? One or two of you may be wondering. Well, our temps don't actually get down to -50, and the -50 version is usually safer because it avoids the use of glycerol, which is present in some of the lower temperature solutions. Basically, the -50 formula is less harsh on the plumbing and seals and easier to clean out in the spring. So let's get this flowing through the RV plumbing. Oh look, it's hack number 2. Up front here is our access to the panel where you can gain access to the valve that plumbs the RV antifreeze. I used to have to disassemble this whole box by removing all these screws, the metal rails, and then this main panel. Completely ridiculous. And you only do this a couple times before you seek a better way. So I cut a hole in this panel and installed a vent cover from Home Depot. This allows me to, number 1, peer inside here with a flashlight to occasionally inspect for leaks, and number 2, just zip these 2 screws off to access the winterizing valve. Now here's another frustrating thing. Where is the switchover valve for the RV antifreeze feed line? Well, if you look carefully, you can see that it's right here. But where's the lever? Well, it's installed backwards, so we can't actually see it. You have to reach around to the back and change the switch over to the RV Winterizing line like this. Now the onboard water pump will feed from this line instead of the freshwater tank line when it was previously turned downward. This line is just looped over the top of the enclosure and comes out here. You know, I should just go to the hardware store and get a line that threads into here with a tube extension. Wait, maybe I should do that now. I'm frustrated having to hack a larger opening in the RV bottles. Let's see here. We need a 1/2 inch MIP. I like this plug. Here we go. Now we need a little 1/2 inch tube to go into the bottle. Yes, this should do the trick. Okay, for the first time in 10 years, now I have a tube that will properly thread into this end and then feed into the RV antifreeze bottle. Why did I wait so long to do this? Well, now we'll simply put this end into the bottle and then we're ready to start pumping the RV antifreeze through the system. Let's go close all our fixtures inside. But we'll leave one of these low points open because this is where we're going to pump all the antifreeze first. Let's start with a cold. Simply go up here and turn on the water pump. Watch carefully down here and be ready to turn off the valve quickly because we don't want to go through the entire bottle accidentally so early in the process. There we go. The pink stuff is frothing and flowing. Let's go check our antifreeze level before we go back to the hot water line. Yes, as we expected, most of this is already gone as this was our first displacement. Let's change this one out with a fresh bottle. The water pump is still on and we're ready for the lever for the hot water, so we'll open up the hot water valve and there we go. There's the pink stuff. Next, we'll check our level again and replenish as needed. Okay, starting at the rearmost water outlet point, and folks, don't overlook your external fixtures. This is our quick connect hose rear connection, the furthest outlet from the water pump. So we'll start back here. Connect the hose and let her rip. Oh, the sprayer valve is stuck open. There we go. Did you see all the fresh water come out first? This would have been bad to overlook. Working our way back up to the front, let's tackle this kitchen sink. We'll start with the cold, and then we'll go to the hot. Perfect. Now we'll work over to the toilet, plumbing this through. There we go. Over to the shower. Cold, and then hot. Keep in mind that I'm constantly checking back on my antifreeze bottle levels and changing the container as needed. Now we'll finish the interior with the bathroom sink. Cold, and then hot. Okay, all the interior is done. Let's go back up to the exterior water connection up here at the wet bay. Now we'll finish up by plugging our quick disconnect hose in again, and we'll go cold, and then we'll go hot. And now we're finished with the plumbing. If you'd like, you can do this a second time, starting with the low point drains and then working your way back through the system. We can put this plug back in, and note that I'm going to leave this valve turned to the winterizing position. For why this is, you'll have to check back in the spring for the de-winterizing video. So what's next? Well, we need to treat our black and gray water holding tanks. As a fair warning, this is a controversial practice, so do this at your own risk. We have been using the GeoPro method for a number of years on our tanks. So what I'm going to do is add some borax and then some Dawn dish soap. Then I'm going to add a couple gallons of water. This can be risky as that even though we're going to throw some antifreeze down here, it will now be diluted so we won't be able to achieve the same freeze protection. I'm going to go back to the store and get the negative 75-degree antifreeze when it's back in stock and add a gallon to each of these 3 tanks. But so far, for the past 8 years, this hasn't given us any problems and the tanks still smell fresh in the spring. But otherwise, you just need to add about a half a gallon of antifreeze in each tank. But I usually add whatever I have left if there's more. Now this next step is very important because we want to make sure we add this to every drain, not just in one even though they're connected to the same tank. Well, why? Well, because if I just pour this into the sink water trap, then the shower water trap will still have water in it. So just divide it up proportionally to every tank, then to every trap. So maybe a quarter gallon into the sink and a quarter gallon into the shower. The kitchen sink can just have this whole half gallon as it's the only drain going to the tank. And the black tank, well, there is no water traps as the drain goes straight down, so you don't have to worry about that. What I'll do now is come back here in a couple weeks with a couple more gallons of the negative 75 version when the store is back in stock, and just add a gallon or so into each of these tanks to increase the safety margin since our mixture is diluted with water, but this will get us past the initial cold snaps for now. Meanwhile, that's it. We've successfully winterized our RV. As sad as it is to see this winterized now, we can start planning our maintenance and trips for next season. If you're looking for accessories and ideas for your springtime maintenance and pre-trip planning, take a look at this video right up here for over 100 upgrades and modifications we have made. Maybe you'll find a few things you want to prep for on your next RV journey. Work hard this winter, refill your RV travel funds, then we'll hit it again in the spring. As always, thank you for watching, my fellow Squatchologists, and we'll see you next time.